Okay, so this is a really, really exciting time for all of us. I feel like in astrology, there can be quite a lot of fear mongering, there can be a lot of scare tactics. And over here at the Cosmic Co, we like to keep it quite uplifting. It's not to say that we ignore the shadow, you need the light and the shadow. But I'm really interested in particular how things affect us as a whole. And I really like the big transits. So, and I have two Aquarius in my big three. So I'm like, this is literally my time. I'm so excited about this whole adventure into the age of Aquarius, the new age, for life as we know it to change. All of these are very big statements, but with Aquarian energy, which we'll get into, you will begin to see why. So let's get into it. A little bit about us first. So this is us. So the Cosmic Company is a super small team, and we essentially act as a modern guide to the universe and yourself, with everything from spirituality, astrology, bit of witchcraft in there, bit of manifestation. I'm Betty. Hello, hello. And I am a psychic, astrologer, and I'm a coach. And I just want people to live their best lives. I want them to heal. I want them to find their power. I want them to feel so good about themselves that it catches like, and then it ripples out. See, can you tell I'm an Aquarius? I just want you to feel really good about yourself. So this is a little bit of that. Okay, so these are some of the services we offer. So everything from psychic reading to astrology reading, like how you find your own abundance, to if you're a star seed and you want to know where you come from, we offer a little bit of that as well. And we've also got our cosmic covens that are opening in LA, and we've already got one in Manchester, but we're going to start a subscription base for it for IRL moon circles and meetups, because I sometimes find on these events that you go to, or say retreats, it can be quite difficult to make new friends because it's about your journey with yourself and the universe. So I want to make a social aspect to all of this as well, because it's always good when you can make friends on this journey who understand the spiritual fuckery of what is going on. You can't always relate with muggles on that sort of stuff. So, welcome to the age of we, not me. Innovation, tech, extraterrestrials, the new earth. It's all coming in the Aquarius age. And it's a super exciting time. I think some people get a little scared about it, because they hear words like, new and tech and AI. But, with the right mindset and the right collective consciousness, this can be a really, really good thing for humanity. So essentially, what this is going to look like is a little bit of like what we've had for the last 15 years with Capricorn's energy to what that looks like. And I've hinted at a little bit of it moving into Aquarius. So if there is time at the end, there'll be some questions, but there may not be. So if that's the case, you can always ping me an email or a DM or any of that, or book services with us as well. Okay, so in this season, as of Saturday, it's now time to go big and stay home. I do the same. I build a global business from my sofa and then I travel. But it's really time now to leave behind the bullshit of yourself. Like, what have you been holding yourself back on? Why have you let certain limiting beliefs keep you small? And really look at, how do you move the F forwards? Because the more of us that step into our own power and heal and go after our dreams, the better the frequency of Earth comes. It literally, as the individual rises, so does the collective. And that's what we're moving into with this next 20 years of Aquarius, but it's starting now. And I've had some messages of being like, what has been happening the last 10 days? Let me know in the chat if the last 10 days has been intense AF for you as well. For me, it was like sleepless nights, like really looking at structure and maybe even feeling a little stagnated in some ways. I don't know if any of you have had that as well. It's the transitioning of like Pluto moving into Aquarius. It's that like in between. Yeah. You know there's a change coming, but you're not quite there yet. So you're feeling a bit like, ooh, like I'm ready to move on vibes. That's what some of the last 10 days have been about. So the power of Pluto. So this little tiny dwarf planet that they keep calling a planet and then not a planet, just a speck in our solar system, is actually really, really powerful. It is all about transformation, power, and rebirth. And these words get used a lot in spirituality. Like, if I have to use the word, I'll hear the word rebirth one more time. Like, there's you can almost play like roulette with the words that are repeated quite a lot. And I think sometimes it's not about rebirth with some of the movements. It's actually just about evolution. Evolution isn't always a rebirth. It's not starting completely again. It's taking what you have learned and applying the wisdom to it and moving forwards, not as a complete, like leaving the self behind, but moving forwards as a whole entity with that. And I think that that's why with Pluto, like you actually can apply the word rebirth here because the old ways are going to be broken down. It's about big life altering changes often. So for the last 15 years, there's been a whole lot of changes. I'm sure some of them will come to mind for you as I'm speaking. And I love Pluto because it goes into the deeper, darker parts of the psyche where sometimes we don't want to play. We ignore the things that aren't comfortable to look at, and we can let the same patterns go on and on and on until we just get to this breaking point. You know, have you ever been there, like where you've been like, I literally cannot do this anymore? Whether it's like certain relationships, jobs, things that you're doing, you just, this is what this is about now. You literally get sick of your own bullshit and you're like, enough, enough. And there's a lot of us doing that across the collective, no matter on your background or religion or spirituality or country. Like we all have that. Not every single person won't have it at the same time, but within the next sort of 20 years, how it impacts you and your birth chart will happen slightly different for every person. But you can guarantee you'll be making some bigger changes in the next 20 years. And really looking at those parts of you that, and we'll get into it a little bit, but how it works with where like Pluto falls in your birth chart. And you can look that up on so many free websites. You can literally just Google like free birth chart generator and you'll see the top ones. It's not rocket science. And then if you have a look at it and you look for Pluto and you don't understand all the symbols and things like that, don't worry about it. Just look at where Pluto is, in what house, and what planet and sign. And you can Google all of those meanings yourself, or you can book a session with an astrologer, whatever it is. But I am a great believer of people doing their own research, again, to give them power. I think it's so easy to leave a comment on somebody's account and be like, what does this mean? But you're encouraged with Aquarius to go and find the answers for yourself. So this planet also digs into how power is used and handled, which is interesting when you look at what we've been through in the last sort of 15 years and beyond. It's really about that struggle for control, both within ourselves and the world around us. And when it was in Capricorn, again, we'll go into it, but you know, whole systems changed. Like there have been so many protests, like things like COVID, just like the world changing. And life with Pluto's influence, it's never lukewarm. It's about passionate highs and lows and intense experiences that push us to grow and evolve. Again, not all of the time. You're not going to face this every single day because Pluto is always transitioning. And if that was true, then every single day would have been like that for you. And I can guess it's not, even if there've been more bad days than good. The other thing to note that Pluto is so far out from our sun that it takes a really long time to move around the sun. It really does take its sweet time. And That's why its impact is deep and long lasting. It's a slow but sure influence on whatever it takes, whatever energy it takes out. So, like I said, with this energy of it moving into Aquarius, you may not feel it straight away, but you can guarantee, sort of in the next 3 to 5 years, you'll be like, oh, my life looks significantly different, and often for the better. And often, if you've taken the time to go deeper and understand what it is you want from life, how you are trying to make the world a better place, in what ways that suits your talents, and more. So, Pluto did move into Aquarius for a little bit last year. And from today, it's also going to move back into Aquarius because it retrograded last time. And it's going to be there until the 1st of September. Then it's going to have a little bit of a retrograde as well between May and October. But it's fully back in Aquarius in November. And essentially, then it's going to leave completely in 2044. So that is a long time away. So while we've had Pluto in Capricorn for the last 15 years, I think like it really struck me. I was like, wow, I really need to look at what happened in my life in the last 15 years. And I'd really encourage you to do this then. You don't have to necessarily think about it now. I've actually given you some journal questions at the end. We most likely won't have time to do the journaling in this workshop, but I'm going to put it up afterwards on the webs. And I'll send you all a link. And I would love to invite you to go through some of these journaling questions, because we look at like Pluto in Capricorn and what that's meant for our lives, but also like Pluto in Aquarius and what that means for where we're going based on how we perceive ourselves and the world currently. So since 2008, when Pluto was hanging out in Capricorn for the first time, things have shifted, especially for the alpha generation. So it's all about changing how we did business. It's all about, again, like thinking about like the Capricorn and shaking up the old rigid ways. And a lot of things were shaken up, and we got to see where things weren't working. And then Aquarius is going to be like, okay, now we know where there was fuckery happening. Now we know where this was really benefiting like the 1% and not the people, not the community. So then Aquarius is like, okay, so how do we change that? And how do we move into that energy of helping the collective? And then it's no coincidence like that the new earth is shifting higher vibrations, like the Schumann resonance coming in and, really changing the vibration of the earth. Like everything is linked. And once you start to see and you go deeper on all of this, you'll see how deep astrology really is. It's almost like a universal algorithm, allowing you to understand not just how we are impacted, but also how you are, by looking at where, like we said, Pluto is for you. What planets do you have in Capricorn, and what houses? Because there's 12 houses in astrology, each meaning different areas. So what you'll see in your life is like, as an example for me, my Jupiter, which is a planet of expansion and abundance, is in Capricorn in the 12th house, which is all about the unseen, the spiritual, the mystical. Well, I blocked off my spirituality for a long time because of a whole bunch of dark stuff that happened when I was a kid. Additionally, I wasn't really like, every time I tried to expand, I couldn't do it. It was like pushed back in because I really had to learn the things that I needed to know about structure and stability in order to grow a business. And now I understand how that is. We are starting to grow. And Pluto is also with me in Scorpio, which is like my south node, or the sort of area that I'm trying to move away from. So you can start to correlate where the energies are and what that has meant for your life in the last 15 years. It's really, really interesting. And on that as well, There's got to be like more ethical, sustainable ways of doing business. That's where my head's been at. That's where a lot of people's heads have been at. Like new age, new earth technologies are coming out all the time. Like just recently we had, Chat GPT, and I know a lot of people say AI is evil, but it's like any other tool. It's never really the tool. It's always the human. It's always the intent behind it, which is why raising collective consciousness in the Aquarian way is so important, so that these tools do not get misused. Because as a species, humanity's not very good at looking after itself. There is consistent wars, consistent things holding us back. Like when we think about like the other higher dimensional extraterrestrial beings, they think of us as a baby race, almost like a toddler, because we've not quite figured out how to do it yet, how to come together as one. We're all still battling with each other. Well, the age of Aquarius is going to be pushing us away from that. It's going to be looking at the structures, like we said, that really starts to benefit everybody, so that it's not just people up here that are benefiting from these old paradigms. We're over that. It's toxic. It doesn't help the world. And we're watching and learning from these big changes, and it's going to shape how generally we think about work and success in the future. Pluto often brings to light what's important, what's on the line, and especially in situations of crisis or transformation, again, of which we have seen a lot recently. And it's getting straight to the heart of the issue and seeing things for what they really are, not just who we are. We often see the world not as it is, but as who we are. And as a collective, because we are so like held back consciously at the moment, we are collectively creating a reality that's fucked. And that's what all of this is about. How do we make that better? So, like we said, there's been so many different changes to society across the world, protests in so many countries, wars, the Wall Street movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, COVID, to name a few. And these were important, and a lot of them were life-changing and needed. And I think we'll start to see more people taking a stand for what isn't right and having that power to the people. This period in the last 15 years has tested the strength and endurance of organizations and systems. It was a trial by fire, and not everybody was going to survive. It was like the Hunger Games. Unless you're Katniss Everdeen helping people, then you're not going to make it. Not with the age of Aquarius. You'll start to see the fall of so many huge organizations and so much disclosure across, you know, governments, business. Like we're already starting to see it like with things like the Epstein list. And some things are going to be a distraction. Like some things are going to be fake, depending on what your beliefs are. And like if you've heard about like Project Bluebeam with the ETs, etc. So we have to use our intuition to see what we feel is right, what we feel is like they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. But at the same time, always question yourself as well and say, am I coming at this viewpoint, this thing happening with fear or love? Because a lot of us, we're so triggered by everything happening all the time on social that we get blinders. And again, Aquarius is asking us to take off those blinders and see things as they are, not who we are. Because while I'm saying follow your intuition, make sure that you can separate intuition from fear. And you see on a lot of the time on the internet, people just typing without thinking because they get to hide. And I would invite you to really understand that you are talking, apart from to the bots, to humans on the other side of this. And Aquarius asks us to have that compassion and empathy when it comes to all of our communications. Technology, that is very Aquarius in itself. So we are done with toxic capitalism and structures which suit the 1% and not the collective. Bye-bye. See you later. We are done. Let me know in the chat if you agree, if you're done with these toxic structures. So when it comes to Pluto in Aquarius, I think Aquarians a lot of the time are painted as aliens. And that's because of the futurism and the future thinking of Aquarius. I didn't know that my whole life that I've been consistently thinking about the future and ideas, that was the Aquarius ruling in my chart. And I actually only found out that I was a double Aquarius a few years ago, to be honest. And I was blown away because I've never really related to my sun sign. I don't know about you. I do now, they say, after you turn 30 and in your 30s, you start to relate to your sun sign more. But like I've always had so much more of an Aquarius energy. And it just made sense. So if you don't know your rising sign and your moon sign, I highly recommend you go and look those up as well and just really start looking into it. And you'll be like, whoa, whoa. So with this shift from Capricorn to Aquarius, the focus and nature of transformations are going to change significantly. So it's a real new vibe compared to like authority driven energy of Capricorn. That's not to say that every Capricorn is like this either. This is just as the collective energy with Pluto involved. It's also about innovation and revolution. And that's what we mean when we are not about these systems anymore. So we want breakthroughs, doing things differently. And I just keep your eye on big changes, more so in technology and science. Things in science that are going to come out that we've been waiting for, like cures to things, just like things we could have never thought about, like really like sci-fi sounding kind of technology. And it's going to be about pushing boundaries and challenging the status quo. There's going to be a lot more that comes up in terms of, treating people with respect from all diverse backgrounds. There's going to be more protests on that. But the difference is in this age, the government's going to have to listen because it's going to get to a point. And I think sometimes people think that, protests don't really make a difference. And that's because we were under that sort of transition of Pluto and Capricorn. But now it's going to be like power to the people. So you can really see that the collective focus really then from going on individual achievements and institutions is looking at humanity as a whole and what is good for the majority, yay, than the few. So you might start to see some of patterns that are coming through here. What have we got here in the chat? Oh, Joanne's saying, I'm not on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. I'm done with the toxic system. Oh, yeah, you should definitely find out your other signs if you can. I love this. And in terms of like specific questions for like what it means for your sign, I probably won't have time to go into that because there's so much that it affects, but I do go into the signs that will be the most affected. Okay. Just wanted to check that we had all of you in the chat that I'm listening and seeing to as I go. It's a bit different in present mode. So when we're looking at Aquarius energy, it is distinct, it is vibrant, it is often associated, like we've said, innovation, individuality, and humanitarianism. Now, Aquarians are individual, but they often think about the collective. They want to change the world. They want to make it a better place. And so even if your main signs are not Aquarius, this is an amazing time to take on some of that energy. Like every sign, Aquarius can have its downsides, but I think really adopting some of those great assets that they have, through activism, social work, making the world a better place, becoming aware, educating yourself on other people's experiences that aren't yours will really help you take on that freedom for us all mentality. And also look at like ways that, maybe you've done certain things in a certain way. And now it's like, how can you do things a different way? If, like, say, for instance, we'll use money as an example. Maybe you have always struggled with money and you just don't understand why. You've got to look at your spending habits, what you've been doing, all the things that haven't been working for, and you've got to go and do the opposite. So this is literally like what we say. You got to go and do the opposite. You got to take a new path. Like the time is now. And some of the other themes that come up is really about freedom. So what does freedom mean for you? Would love to hear in the chat. For me, it's the ability to work anywhere I want, anytime I want. Like sometimes I love to work from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. and maybe I don't want to do any more work. that day. And that is huge freedom for me. And if that work can help people and I can get paid for it, which I do because I manifested it, then I'd be so happy. So what does it mean to you? What does freedom mean to you? And why do you want it? And with that, it's not just about the person, it's like for society too. How do we get free from, government ways? How do we get free from oppressive systems? So that social change and activism, you're going to see so much more of that. More people fighting, like we said, for equality, environmental protection, and human rights. Like the fact we even have to fight for human rights in this day and age. Crazy. We can create AI, but we can't create equality. Like, it's wild. And a shift in power dynamics, like we've said time and time again, these power dynamics are going down. They are going to get decentralized in the same way that we've already started to see some of the decentralization of the internet. You will see that echoed again in the government, in structure, in business, all the things that Capricorn stood for. And that's not to say that everything that happened during the Capricorn season was bad. Oh, no, no, no. But what I am saying here is like, this is where we got to with the Capricorn season. And this is where Aquarius is coming in and be like, hold up, let's help everybody. Okay. Some of the other things that we'll touch on is, like we said, Aquarius is heavily associated with technology. So we are going to see huge breakthroughs. We've touched on that already, but in all aspects of life. And in my opinion, technology is a very good thing, not just because I'm very Aquarian, but because it really can help people if it's used right. So Pluto in Aquarius is really going to look at things that help us break free, help the collective, and look at new ways of thinking. Because when we think about things in a different way, that is how change is made. So keep in mind that Pluto is a big deal on the societal scale. It's a transpersonal planet, so its effects are felt by everyone. So if you've got Aquarius featuring strongly in your chart, you're going to really feel Pluto shift. Big changes are on the horizon in areas highlighted by Pluto in your personal chart. So, for example, if your moon, which deals with emotions, is in Aquarius, get ready for some deep internal changes. Or maybe you've got your Mercury, which is all about communication, is in Aquarius. Then the way that you connect and talk to others is going to, again, change in the next 20 years. So, and it's not just about these like planets either. You've also got like even Saturn, the planet of long-term commitments and works, gets a shake up from Pluto. So your career path and what you leave behind could see some major evolution during this time. So we are done with self-sabotage. We are done, like we said, with our own BS and holding ourselves back, because there is only you that gets to live your life, and there might be a lot of influence from other people around you, but Aquarius is asking you, like, what do you stand for and what do you want to mean in the world? Whatever sign you are, because you're all going to feel this, what do you want to mean in the world and what do you want to do? And it's not saying that you need to go out and change the world, but like, are there things for other people that you could do more of? Do you help other people? Could you start donating your time? Or, maybe you need to listen to people more and learn how to hold space. There are so many ways that you could be holding yourself back in relationships, in your own happiness, your joy, spirituality, business, purpose. This isn't necessarily saying that everyone needs to go and start a revolution. I will. I'll do it for you. But it's saying, what does that personal revolution look like for you? Because even just you aligning with yourself and stop betraying yourself is how you raise the collective consciousness. And I think people don't think about that because naturally, right? If you are no longer hurting other people because you're hurt, if you are no longer playing small, then you start to set an example to other people around you with your actions, not just your words. That shit ripples out. Like someone else would be like, oh, well, I'm feeling inspired by that, whether they tell you or not. people see change. And it's from that that the world starts to change a little bit as well. And I just wanted to add that in there because we really do talk about, this new age, big new changes. But the most important change that affects world change is individual change because it really ripples out. We've all got electromagnetic frequencies, that really stretch out 6 foot, maybe more, otherwise known as your aura. Sometimes you'll be walking down the street and you can feel someone's energy and it's not aligned with yours and you have to cross the street. People can feel the change in your energy. So it's a ripple effect. So even you going out to find more joy, or you start maybe going to energy healing, you start working on and facing that trauma that's held you back. These are all amazing things to do for yourself that help other people. And so many of us are told if we, go to therapy or we spend money on our own healing that we're selfish. Like selfish is a bad thing. It's often unhealed people that are calling other people selfish when they focus on themselves. And you're setting a great example to your children, your friends, sometimes your parents, and you're ending generations like a cycle of trauma as well. These are all of the things that are also revolutionary when it comes to the age of Aquarius. So let's go into a little bit of which of the signs are going to be impacted the most. So first and foremost, Aquarius, obviously, Pluto is moving through your sign. So Aquarians are in for major transformations. You're going to feel this energy profoundly, prompting deep changes in identity and life direction. So that is a big thing. Like Aquarians are going to feel it. And I just want to preface again, this isn't a time to be scared. Like, I'm not saying to you life as you know it is going to change and you need to fear that. I know change is scary, but you also get to create your own reality. Like, what do you want for your own life, for your identity? How do you want to show up in the world? And then visualize the best version of that every day. You get some say in these changes. You get some say in how you will create that reality. And that goes for all signs. And Leo, who's opposite to Aquarius, Leos will experience this transition in terms of relationships, partnerships, and how they balance their needs with those of others. It's a time of significant shifts in how they connect with people. Now, you might not be an Aquarius big three or a Leo big three, but look at where your planets and, the houses impact this sign. And that's how it's going to impact you coming up. With Leos, they're really interesting because I love Leo energy. I sometimes feel like I've got Leo energy, but I've got no major anything in Leo. But Leos are really interesting because they love the spotlight, but they're also terrified of how everyone thinks of themselves. So whereas here, like the shift in connecting with other people, I'd also say like the shift in how you connect to yourself, because everybody treats you a lot of the time how you treat yourself. And if that's not the case, then you just set a boundary and get rid of them. So that's what I'd say to Leos as well. What's your relationship with yourself? Okay, and Taurus and Scorpio. These signs square Aquarius. So for Taurus and Scorpio, the transit can bring some challenges that require adjustments and changes. I have to keep these quite broad because there's so much detail that comes into it. We could be here in a 4-hour workshop, and I can do one of those if you guys want me to, but it is not this one. So again, look in your chart where Taurus and Scorpio are. And when it says challenges, again, I don't want you to be scared. I want you to look at when things change in your life, it is a universe showing you where you can make improvements, because a lot of the time you've asked for a certain manifestation, and we are also impacted by these big changes, but you do create your own reality. So when you are shown when something's not working or a challenge in your life, don't be afraid to take it on. Be like, okay, right, fine. This is what needs working on. How do I do that? What is the best resource? Is it books? Is it other people? Is it how do I get the answers I need and really relish this transformation because it's only going to help you. I mean, sometimes I know it feels like it's another lesson the universe is throwing at us and we are tired, but you can look at moving out of your comfort zone as moving up to step into the reality that you want for yourself and the best version of your life. So with Taurus and Scorpio, it really is looking at areas around your values and what you stand for in the world and the resources that you have. So what's your relationship like to the resources around you? Do you make excuses for not moving forwards because you don't have the right resources, but maybe you do have another resource that you've not thought about because you've not been thinking in new ways, just the old stock ways? And Aquarius would ask you like to really go forwards and take things that are holding you back, like limiting beliefs, or maybe you finally need to get help with that diagnosis you think that you need and you haven't had it yet. There's so many different ways to get help and you're not alone. And that's where we're moving forwards with this energy. So it really is time to reinvent your story and create a new narrative and therefore create an amazing future. Because if you're creating a future for yourself that's better than you have now, then that vibrationally is going to impact the world. The world feels that. That's why it's like called the butterfly effect. Like when a butterfly moves its wings, the impact is that it makes changes across the world. And that is what it's like in this reality. And I think people don't really recognize or realize the power of the individual. And if you have the power of many individuals that are trying to make changes in their own lives, like we said, that's how you get collective impact. We love that for us. So, some of the ways that you can grow during this transition is to really embrace innovation. So, be open to new technology. Don't be so scared about it. It's not saying that you need to go out and use everything. It's not saying you need to be on all the social channels, but maybe explore the idea that this is all an experiment. And again, if something's not been working for you, experiment with some new ways. I am constantly experimenting in this business, constantly trying to offer things that I think will work and people don't like. And then I don't think of it as a failure. I think of it as data. Okay, the community doesn't want this, but they seem to really be responding to this. And you can do that in your own life as well to explore new areas you've never considered before. Really focus on community as well. So with the collective, like what does community mean to you? Does it mean going to a group on meetup.com? Does it mean creating more of a community around you? Like look at the people around you and are they uplifting you or are they constantly pulling you down? And what impact is that having on your life? How can you get involved with more causes that you care about? How can you make a positive impact on a larger scale? Again, not saying that you need to go and change the world. You're welcome to. But how can you make the world just a little bit better than you left it? Stay flexible. So there's going to be a lot of change. And if we are reacting to every change that we have around us in the world, we go mad. But a lot of us are. We're so overstimulated. Anxiety is at an all-time high. Don't quote me, I'm not a doctor. I don't know the actual stats. But when I was looking, it's like we've never been more anxious and we've also probably never been more separated, even though we've got a technology that really connects a lot of the world, because the way that it's being done on Facebook and Instagram, digitally, Eventbrite, Meetup, it's a lot for everyone. They're becoming overwhelmed. So stay flexible. Look at what's working for you and what isn't. If ways of connecting to community aren't doing it for you anymore, leave them. Try something new in this giant experiment. Just call it your experiment of 2024. If something's not working, that's cool. It's data, it's feedback. Reflect on your role in society. So how do you fit into the larger picture here? It's a hard question, but for me, I think it's like if you've ever heard of the Japanese notion of ikigai, you look at like different areas. I can't remember all of them now that help you align with where you want to go, how you want to help. And some of it's like what you're good at, what makes you angry or passionate that needs to change in the world and what you can get paid for. And there's another one, but in the middle of all of that is your sweet spot. So that can be your role in society and what your like view on creating a positive change is. Like, even if it's a small thing, maybe you challenge yourself to do a small thing every day to help someone else. Or I think somebody I admire said, whenever you're going through a bad day, do something for someone else and it will lift you up. And that is huge Aquarius energy, big Aquarius energy in the small things. Yes, see? I love this one. Prioritize your goddamn mental health. You are important. Aquarius energy can be intense, especially with Pluto's transformative influence and pressure. So, take care of your mental health through practices like meditation, journaling, therapy. I would also invite you to try other modalities. Like, I have been exploring functional mushrooms. There are other versions of plant medicine that can help your mind. There are wellness circles, moon circles, energy healing, kinesiology, which changed my life. If you put your mental health first, your world will change. Your world will change. It's amazing. And I love this one too. Let go of what no longer works for you. Why are you still allowing it in your life? And you might be making excuses for it. Like, oh, it's my job. I need it. Like, I can't just leave. No one's telling you to just leave. But if you could make a change there, what would it be? And if you rated it out of 10, how happy you were there, you probably start to see it's not as hard to leave as you think. You need to replace that job, obviously. We need the money. But if it's not working for you, don't do it anymore. Like, who cares? Just go forwards and replace the things that need to be replaced. And if you can let go of them and they don't need replacing, then so be it. But it's time for you and new developments in your life. So this is what we're saying with Aquarius. Everyone's saying, like, how does it impact me? These are the general ways this impacts everybody. And it's still important enough that wherever you have this in your chart, these are the general ways it's going to basically impact you and the world around you. Be patient with yourself and others. Transformations don't happen overnight. So give yourself and others the grace to grow and change at your own pace. I think sometimes we try and really hurry healing, or we get really, really infuriated if things aren't happening when we want it to happen. But that's the ego. That's like putting structures in there of like Capricorn saying it needs to happen at this time. Well, it doesn't happen like that. And I think Aquarius asks you to zoom out and look at the bigger picture and stop thinking of healing as a destination. It's a journey, and there are different pit stops in different parts of the onion, and it's like a prism. Think you'll have healed this, and then something else comes up, and you're just looking at it from a different side of the prism. And sometimes it'll be further away because you've done the work on it. So I think these are some really beautiful ways that we can all grow during this transition. So as we said, you can look at where Capricorn is in your chart, and with the birth chart, each house in astrology represents a different area of life. So see which house or houses in your chart have Capricorn on the cusp, the beginning edge, and then this will show you which parts of your life have been the most impacted by Pluto's transit. For example, Capricorn in the fourth house can indicate huge changes in your home life or family dynamics. You can also look at the planets in Capricorn. So if you've got any planets, look at the meanings of those. There's so much on the internet and YouTube to help you with this. TikTok's a great one for it as well. So Pluto's transits would have activated these planets, intensifying their influence and bringing big changes to different areas. So for instance, if you have Venus in Capricorn, your experiences of love, relationship, and values may have gone huge changes in the last 15 years. So it's really good to look at where you've come from and then where you're going. So this is when you can start to get a little deeper with where you are going. So some of the questions that you might want to ask yourself. So you can screenshot this now if you want. But like I said, I'm going to send this out. So with Capricorn and the house reflection, so it's which houses in my chart fall under Capricorn, and have I seen changes or transformations in these areas of my life during Pluto's transit? And then understanding these challenges and growth. So you're asking, what challenging experiences have I encountered during this transit, and how have they contributed to my personal growth? I love that one. And transformation of your ambitions and goals. How have these things really changed during this time? And what does success mean now based on that? Additionally, you might be looking at, shifts in financial and material matters. So as I mentioned with Jupiter and me in Capricorn, so once I got a structure and a strategy around how I wanted this business to run, with Jupiter being in my 12th house, which is like the mystical spiritual house, and I run a spiritual business, then I saw that my Mars was in Capricorn too. Mars is about action, like taking action on those things. I've started to do that. And then the growth just in the last 2 months, as we were like moving into this, I've really started to see the strategies I need to take based on where my planets are aligned. And because of that, finance became better. I healed more of my money wounds, and you can start to see where you need to do the work. So evolving relationships with structure. So how has my relationship with structure, rules, and traditional systems changed? And when it comes to your personal evolution, in what ways have you been personally affected by this when it comes to the evolution of you? Who were you in 2008 versus who you are now? For me, I had a lot of toxic relationships. Oh, and I just never wanted a relationship again. And I'm so glad they happened in some ways because I learned a lot about myself. It's not to say that I wish they happened again, though, but you can really start to see where you were reborn, where you have moved forwards during Pluto's time with Capricorn. And then, oh my God, I love this horse. I feel like there's never been more of a slide that's me, a flying bloody horse in rainbow light. Yes. So when we're looking at questions for the age of Aquarius, how open am I to change? And get really honest with yourself here. Consider how willing you are to embrace new ideas, technologies, and ways of living. You can even score it out of 10 if you're going to get really honest. I always think scoring things out of 10 is such a powerful, simple way to see the truth of the matter, because you can see in a quantifiable way what your attitude really is. What are my unique qualities? So what sets you apart? And are you expressing that individuality? Are you able to do it in an even better way? Like I played small for so long in the last 15 years because of people telling me I was too much, too big a personality. But I really feel like that helps me do what I need to do. And I don't tone myself down for no motherfucker now because we're in the age of Aquarius. So I hope that you do the same. I hope that you do not make yourself smaller for anybody, because it's only small people that tell other people to shrink themselves. And how do I connect with my community? We already talked about this. So, like, think about your social groups, think about how you can contribute back to society, make nice. You can even make it fun. Like, you can gamify it for yourself if you want to. Where can I introduce more innovation? So, where in your personal and professional life do you need fresh approaches, new thinking? Where has stuff got stagnant, and where do you need to make the changes? What old patterns or beliefs do I need to release? This one's a huge one. This is like the one. What is holding you back? What can you do to change it? And what are you going to do to change it? Because that is the heart of all of this. How do I handle power and control? I don't handle it well when other people try and control me. But reflect on your relationship with power and control, both personally and societally and at work. That's a good one there as well. So that, in a nutshell, is our very top line of how you can really look at how this transit's going to affect you, how you can move forwards with this, and what you need to do to live your best life. And if you need any help with your chart, if you want to know what your personal path to success and abundance is, we do astro readings on that, and would love to help you. And thank you very much, everybody, for attending. It was a lot of fun. Hope it was helpful. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for attending, and hopefully we'll see you at the next one. Thank you so much. Bye bye bye.